Hello everyone, welcome to my presentation for the VerifyNow Platelet Function Measurement System. This is for Principles of Education at Augusta University Medical Center, and I am Scott Stavely. The VerifyNow system is manufactured by Creva Diagnostics. They are a subsidiary of Instrument Laboratory here at Augusta University Medical Center. Instrument Laboratory also makes our ACL top coagulation machines. Very cutting edge. The VerifyNow system is a point of care single use instrument. It's fully automated, meaning that it might be CLIA waived. I'm not sure on that. Very simple to use standalone system. The instrument monitors antiplatelet activity or antiplatelet medication efficiency, basically, Plavix and such. It also does aspirin, a couple of other ones. We're not going to talk about those. I'm just going to look at Plavix to make it simple. This is very critical in pre-op blood screening and for drug monitoring. The goals and objectives for this presentation for the students. Students will be able to identify the main components of the system, how to properly run a test, interpret the results, and understand the basic principle of the test and its usefulness. Explain the basic principles of the procedure and what its usefulness is. Identify all major components of the system and their function, and demonstrate how a patient sample is run, and then also to correctly interpret the results of the test. This is just basic, all the machines and instruments in the lab. The technicians should be able to do this for all of those. So we're going to start off with the principle of basically how Plavix itself works. Clopidogrel is Plavix. It binds to the P2Y12 receptor on platelets. That receptor is normally activated by ADP. The Plavix molecule goes in there, blocks that receptor. Therefore, it inhibits platelet activation and therefore platelet aggregation because it doesn't undergo that shape change. Here's a little illustration of a platelet. You can see down here the little blue arrow indicates the binding site. You can see ADP normally binds to the P2Y12. It's got the little Plavix molecule right there, just showing how it blocks that receptor. Now this is the principle for the test itself. The VerifyNow testing cartridges, which I have a picture of that's coming up, and I'll show you that. They have fibrinogen coated beads in 4 little wells at the bottom of that cartridge, which would activate that coagulation cascade, the aggregation cascade. Therefore, so once you put the blood in, the blood goes through the system. If the Plavix is or isn't there, or any other issue, it will or will not aggregate. The machine shines light through those 4 little wells down there on the bottom and is a turbidimetric measurement of transmittance. So that's the cartridge right there. You can see it looks a little funny. It's a very interesting little thing to hold in your hand. You can see where the tube of blood goes in there. I don't know if you can see behind the larger well, there's some dots back there. The machine actually reads those dots. So when you put the cartridge in, whether it's the P2Y12 or the aspirin or any of the other tests, the machine knows. You don't have to actually type that in or anything. Apologize for my voice. I don't know why. Been losing my voice the past few days. So bear with me. This is the machine itself. You can see there on the right-hand side, that little do not. That is the electronic QC. I won't go into QCing because really it's quite simple. You just take the little QC card out, stick it in that crest on the top of the machine, lifts up, put it down in there, and you just tap the QC button, and it'll run electronic QC real quick for you. You should do that at the beginning. Before the first daily test is run, you want to run electronic QC. You can see a little screen there. There's also a printer, which I have not shown, that is hooked up to it on the right-hand side. At least at our lab, it's hooked up on the right-hand side. The results off this machine do have to be entered manually into our LIS system. I am uncertain if you can hook it directly to LIS system, but it being a standalone instrument, I would highly doubt that you could integrate it into LIS system, but I could be wrong. So you can see keypad, function keys, and all that. Pretty straightforward, real simple to use. Now the procedure. Whole blood must be drawn in a vacuette blue top citrate tube, and that is the tube you saw in the cartridge previously. It literally has to be in that specific brand. I could not get a straight answer as to why that is. It could be the type of vacuum it holds. It could be how it fits into the cartridge. I'm not positive. But if you do not run it in that vacuette tube, the test will be invalid. Blue top only, no purple, has to be vacuette. So usually the unit is already on. So the main unit, pound on the main unit, select run. You're going to enter your session number, which is just your order number for that test. Take your cartridge out of your bag. If you remember from the previous couple slides, there is a needle in there in that cartridge that you have to take the lid off of, the cap off of, and then you put the cartridge in the slot. Do not put the tube into the cartridge and then put the cartridge in the slot. It will give you an error if you do that. I've seen it happen. You think you got it in there tight, you don't. You take it out, try to push that tube back in, put it back in, and it gives you an error. Before you put it in, before you put the tube in, you want to invert your sample 5 times, and then you slide the tube into the cartridge. It will prompt you. It knows when you put the tube into the cartridge. Don't ask me how. Really neat. Then it says close the lid. That lid has to be closed. If the lid is not closed because it is a transmittance, there's a light shining through that cartridge. If the lid is open, it will not measure that accurately. This is where the cartridge goes into the machine. What's funny is this picture is actually incorrect. Maybe the guy's taking it out of the machine. I'm not sure. But again, he's got the tube and the cartridge before they are putting the cartridge into the machine. So I really just got this to show you where the cartridge goes in the slot, but do not do it that way. It will not work. So your results are given in P2Y12 reaction units. I know I'm not a fan of this because it is technically a meaningless measurement unit. Higher numbers indicate more light transmittance and lower turbidity. So basically, again, you've got your fibrinogen beads in those bottom wells. If the platelets are being stopped from doing what they're supposed to be doing, basically either by, well, this one's for Plavix and a couple of other drugs specifically. If the Plavix is in the blood, it will not start that cascade, and so the blood sample will be more turbid, therefore a lower number. If they don't have any Plavix in their blood, the platelets will start to aggregate around those fibrinogen beads. The sample will be more clear, and you'll have a higher value in that readout. There are no critical values for this test. It really depends on what the physician is looking for and what the patient's condition is. For example, you have John Doe, unconscious, comes off the street, trauma, bleeding, they need to go in and do some type of surgery. The physician sends blood sample down, does PT, APTT, and it comes back. He's got a high bleed time for some reason. The guy maybe, middle-aged, older gentleman, don't know why his bleed time's high, so they'll send another sample down, and we'll run this to see if that could be the reason why. So you got a high bleed time, and then this comes back with a high turbidity, a high PRU. That's the physician knows he's got to put, give additional treatment to stop the bleeding. On the other side, if someone gets stents put in their heart and the doctor prescribes Plavix, they'll do TDM to see if it's working. So same thing, send a blood sample down. If it's a higher number, lower turbidity, that's good. That's what the doctor is looking for. I think I got that right. It's kind of confusing. I had to ask Miss Mary John about this, but I hope I explained. I hope I explained that correctly. So, in summary, this is actually extremely easy to use. Again, it measures your platelet aggregation, which is measured by transmittance and turbidimetry. It must be collected in the correct tube. I can't stress this enough. If it does not come down in the correct tube, the test must be canceled, and they must get a redraw, reorder that sample. It can be critical for pre-surgery blood work and also for therapeutic drug monitoring. The materials you'll need for this test, again, being a point of care, it all basically comes in a box, and you just take it out. You've got your VerivyNow main unit, the printer, the VerivyNow PTY12 sample cartridge, or any of the other. Well, there's 3 cartridges that you can get for those other tests: the aspirin test, and the other test. It needs to be citrated, whole blood, in the correct tube. And then here are my references. Didn't really need to go too much in depth for this. Pretty much everything was on the Instrument Laboratory website and on the Acriva website. If you have any further questions, please do not hesitate to email me. My email address is sstavely@augusta.edu. Again, I am a student. I am in no way, shape, fashion, or form an expert in this field or for this device, and this was submitted for a class. So this is being posted to YouTube. If anybody else sees this, just keep that in mind. Thank you for listening, and have a good day.